All right, welcome again to Mazecast, episode number 4382. We're going to be talking about Room 29 tonight, one of the most pivotal, important rooms in the maze. Before we get to the room itself, I should note we've got a number of people here with us tonight, some old, some new. We've got Ben Heaton here, last
Hello.
about 200 episodes ago. Ben, what's been going on since the last time you were on the show?
Yeah, well, first of all, I have to say, I assume a lot of your regular listeners don't remember me, but I used to be on Mazecast back in, the very beginning, and honestly, I'm impressed at how far Mazecast has come since then, in my absence. I think you've done a lot better without me. I look at your site, you guys have a very nice-looking site now, you've built a community around this, you actually have an order in which you're going through the rooms, I think, or at least some sort of sidebar listing rooms on there. Back in my day, we had a fairly simple but functional wiki and no real integration with the Mazecast schedule. And it really warms my heart to see this Mazecast that we were involved with in the early days having just come so far.
That's definitely heartwarming. Glad to have the approval of the person who voluntarily decided not to participate in Mazecast for all these months. We also have...
That was largely because I felt like I wasn't really bringing anything new to the table at past a certain point. I was kind of spinning my wheels there. But now that does remind me. The other day I was cleaning out a desk drawer and I found in it some old maze materials I had, some index cards that I'd just written some notes on. This was before we had even the wiki or anything. It was just sort of a handmade, very low-tech concordance sort of deal. Here, I'm holding one of them up. I don't know if you guys can read that. It's just little notes about things that I saw on a page, various elements of it that came to my attention. And I wasn't able to find them for all the rooms, but I just figured you guys might think that was kind of neat.
It is kind of neat. I want to jump now to our first celebrity participant here on Mazecast, because I know he has to catch a plane to Paris any minute now. We've got Steve Havelka here, renowned author of Pokey the Penguin and private mazer, big fan of the book. He's actually, although he hasn't been an active presence in the maze community before now, he has been reading this book since he was a small child. He is a dedicated fan, and in fact, I think he has a pretty unusual story about how he, became interested in the maze. If you want to tell that story, Steve.
Well, sure. It's really the subject of mazes. The first thing that comes to mind is when I was a teenager and I was taking the Greyhound bus up to Vancouver, British Columbia, and I was going to go visit some friends up there, and I was sitting on the bus, and it came to me, just kind of in a dream state, that I should see if there's a hedge maze in Vancouver, British Columbia. So when the bus pulled into the station up in Vancouver, my friend picked me up from the bus station, and I said, "Is there a hedge maze anywhere in Vancouver?" And my friend said, "Well, I don't know." So we went back to where I was staying, and I think they might have looked up on the internet, but I don't remember, because this was back in the early days. But they might have called a friend or a relative who happened to know that there is a hedge maze in Vancouver, British Columbia. It's in I think it's the Van Dusen Botanical Gardens, and it's in the southern part of the city. And you can get there by bus. You can walk there if you live in the neighborhood. It's a pretty neat hedge maze. It's that big. If you're tall, then you can see over the edges. It's not like you'd see in a movie or anything. But yeah, The Maze. It's a great book. Love it. Vincent?
Great. Thank you. We've also got here Lewis Powell, known on the Abyss as Anchorperson Smith, I believe. This is his first time participating on Mazecast, although he does have some noted solutions on the Abyss. He's only been typing messages here. I'm not sure whether we have audio from him. Lewis, are you there?
Yeah, Yes, I'm here. I was waiting to be called on.
Okay. Well, that's polite.
Very polite.
This is your first time on the show, so maybe you should explain how you came to Maze.
Wait, I've never been on Mazecast before?
That's right.
I don't believe you have.
I was in chats with some of the people that I thought were in Mazecast.
You were only in Suggestcast discussions of Maze.
Well, now Lewis has also been in various text group chats with a lot of the Maze community. That might be what he's thinking of.
I thought I would tell the story of the time that Ben and I almost met Christopher Manson.
Oh, that's a good story.
Yeah, so I went to Rockford, Maryland. What's the name of your town, Ben? I thought Ben would help tell the story of the time.
All right, so I live in Maryland near Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Lewis came to visit me one time.
You should give your street address, Ben. That'll really help flesh out the story.
Well, I think this story might be better if we don't give anybody's exact street addresses.
Okay. But we did have access. I had just bought new shoes. This is important because I went to visit Ben. Actually, no, I hadn't bought the new shoes yet.
You bought them when you were there.
I bought them after you and I.
No, you came to visit and we went shoe shopping together to get your new shoe.
Did we?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you spent a long time trying them on.
What shoe store did we go to?
I don't know, it was some department store deal.
Okay.
At the mall in Pentagon City.
I thought I went with my brother, but I guess I went with you. My brother also lives outside D.C.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ben and I got ourselves a couple of umbrellas, and I guess I was wearing my new shoes then. We had some time to kill, and we had Christopher Manson's street address.
Yes.
Which we obtained through the ordinary means that you get people's street addresses. Which is somebody posted it in the little hangout that we belong to. Okay, so we drove for a while. My phone gave us directions step by step, as a phone is wont to do. And we parked at a park, if you could believe the irony of that situation.
And a couple blocks away from Christopher Manson's home address.
I don't know why, but we thought that parking in front of his house would be more disturbing than parking 2 blocks away and walking to his house.
Yeah, I remember we were very concerned with not coming across as creepy.
I think one of us was very concerned with that, and the other one was Ben. And we brought official Maze fan bumbershoot.
Well, no, I did. You left yours in the car because you thought carrying a bumbershoot around when it wasn't raining at all would seem weird.
Although I've recently learned that people in some places use rain umbrellas as parasols if it's sunny out, and it was sunny out that day.
It was. Well, we don't need to get into my opinions about parasols versus umbrellas right now.
I think this is a perfectly good time to get into those.
Yeah, I don't really approve of using one in place of the other. I think you should have separate parasols and umbrellas.
I'm sorry for that.
Personally, I only have umbrellas since I don't really use parasols that often.
Sensible. I think you should get a parasol though. I feel like it would go with your overall style.
Yeah, my aversion to sunlight.
Yeah. So we get up to the door, and we verify with our phone that it is the address that we were given. Do we ring the doorbell, Ben? I know that there was a long period of
went up to the door and knocked.
Oh, and I wanted you to check his mailbox to see if the mail in there said Christopher Manson on it, and you refused because all of a sudden you were worried about it seeming creepy.
But going through somebody's mail is actually a federal crime.
No, that's opening the mail.
Knocking on somebody's door is not, I assume.
I don't think it's a federal crime to open their mailbox and look to see if it's addressed to them.
Well, unfortunately, we didn't have Vincent with us at the time, so we couldn't rely on his legal advice.
Vincent, can you now retroactively tell us whether it would have been legal to look at the mail outside only?
It probably would not have been legal. I don't know whether it would have been a federal offense just to tamper with it to the extent of opening it and looking at it, but it almost certainly would have been some kind of property offense.
And to be clear, that's opening the box the mail was in, not opening the mail itself.
Yes.
Okay. Would you have been willing to represent Christopher Manson in his civil suit against us for tortious neglect or whatever it's called?
I think there probably would have been a conflict in that case.
How would there have been a conflict?
Well,
Stealing his mail?
As a Maze enthusiast,
there's a good chance I might be called upon as a witness in the case, believe it or not, even though it seems like the information I have to give would be superfluous to the obvious evidence they have. But also, just because you're friends of mine, it would be problematic, I think.
But like in a small town, the lawyer's going to be friends with everybody, and that's got to be okay, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd have to take a hard look at the situation, but I feel as though it would be a conflict.
Okay, so we rang the doorbell,
Mhm.
I think, or we knocked on the door. We did one of those two things.
And we waited around for a long time.
Almost 45 seconds, probably.
I think it was at least a minute and a half.
And we also did some, I would call it skulking. A little bit of like skulking around to see if there was any movement in the house.
Yeah, we weren't really able to get a view of the inside, unfortunately.
Yeah, if Christopher Manson is listening to this, I would encourage him to go with more of like Venetian blinds that are open rather than closed, or whatever his situation was. Maybe open the drapes on a nice day so that people can tell if you are inside to sign their umbrella.
Yeah, I think...
We bought like a silver marker for him to sign the umbrella with, didn't we?
Yeah, because if he had just like a black marker, if he had a Sharpie, a regular Sharpie, he would not have been able to sign it effectively.
Okay, so we wait there for about 45 seconds, and no one comes to the door. And then I think we decided we should leave.
Yeah.
So that's how Ben and I almost became best friends with Christopher Manson.
Mm-hmm. How he almost gave us all his maze secrets.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this. I think he would have confirmed or denied for me whether it's keep believing in yourself in that one room.
All right, great story, great introduction, Mr. Powell. While you were telling that story, Andrew has shown up. Hey, good evening, Andrew.
Well, hello.
Well,
Who's going to be leading us on our Escape Cast episode 1 later tonight after this, if it's not too late. Sarah is here as well, and Sarah has our drink pairing for room 29, I believe.
I
is
do.
that a thing you do now?
It's something I do and get mocked for. So anyway, for this room, I have chosen a peppery Rioja from Spain.
Oh, nice.
Peppery to go with the salt and pepper, obviously above the door, room 35 in the room. And a Rioja pairs very well with all kinds of food, so that matches nicely with the spatula. I'll just have a taste. Delicious. Perfect for this room.
Wine recommendations? That's ridiculous.
So if you're watching, now's the time to pause and go and get your nice glass of Rioja for this room.
Right.
While we're waiting for people to go get that, I'd like to say I think that's a great new Mazecast custom. I mean, I say new, you might have been doing that for a while. I haven't been following Mazecast all that closely in recent months, but it's nice to see that there are traditions popping up around it.
Can I ask, is Steve outdoors because he does man-on-the-street interviews about Maze? Is that why he's, like, stationed outdoors?
No, I had to go to a coffee shop because my crazy bird neighbor, my crazy bird lady neighbor, her birds were making this terrible noise, and it was just filling my apartment with this impossible cacophony of bird sounds. So I went to a coffee shop, and then I saw that the Mazecast was starting. So I'm just sitting outside, so it's really loud in there.
Nothing is more depressing to me than the moment between hearing cat lady or bird lady and the realization that nobody is ever talking about it in the more exciting way that they could mean that. It's always a person who owns lots of those things and not a person who is like halfway one of those things.
Yeah, you raise a good point.
All right, and on that note, for some reason, let's get down to it with room 29. Okay, so we're all familiar with room 29 here. It's got the blind man, the upside down guy. The deal with room 29 is if you turn the page upside down, you can see that there is a hidden door here on the table, takes you to room 17. So that's what's up with room 29. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks to Andrew for being here. Thanks to Ben for coming back. Thanks to Lewis for stopping by. Thanks to Sarah for the drink recommendation. Thanks to Steve for the thrilling story and making time for us in his busy schedule. We will see you next time on Mazecast. Good night.